We acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this podcast is recorded, the Wadawurrung people, and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging.
It is the HSR podcast brought to you by WorkSafe Victoria, helping you achieve better health and safety outcomes in your workplace. My name is Chris McKenzie and thanks for joining me for another episode in this series as we hear from industry experts and leaders in OH&S offering advice, guidance and support on a range of topics for health and safety representatives, employers and employees. First, a reminder of who we are. WorkSafe is Victoria's occupational health and safety regulator and workers' compensation insurer. Putting it simply, we are here to reduce workplace harm and improve outcomes for injured workers. Our job is to educate, support and guide Victorian employers to provide a safe environment. But WorkSafe can't be at every workplace all the time. That's why the role of health and safety representatives, or HSRs for short, is so important. They play a critical role in getting Victorian workers home safe at the end of each day. So far in this series, we've learned all about health and safety representatives, or HSRs as we call them, their powers under the OH&S Act and what obligations employers have towards them, as well as the critical importance of proper consultation on health and safety issues in the workplace. If you've missed any of the first 8 episodes in the series, make sure to hit the links on the page to catch up. And in this podcast, we're being joined by someone who's got the best title at WorkSafe, Adam Watson, who's the Commander of Field Operations, to discuss good examples of how consultation can make a workplace safer. Welcome, Adam. Tell us a little bit about your role.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks for having me here today to talk about this very important part of our Act and what we focus on. So, as Chris introduced, Adam Watson, Commander of Operations here at WorkSafe Victoria. I essentially head up all of the WorkSafe inspectors that you will see come into your workplace when there's an incident, come into your workplace to talk about health and safety opportunities in your workplace, and also all of the friendly folks that will pick up the phone when you ring up with an issue from a HSR perspective. So HSRs are very much a key focus for us in field operations.
And we've heard in this podcast series earlier from Dr. Narelle Beer, who's the Head of Health and Safety here at WorkSafe, speaking about the importance of consultation and getting it right. Can you share with us, in your experiences, what is good consultation?
Listen, good consultation, and I really want to steer away from giving a one answer thing to this because it's one thing that there's certainly not one answer to. Consultation is essentially communicating. Consultation is about talking in your workplace about issues that impact the people that the issue refers to. Consultation is essentially connecting people, talking about issues that may impact health and safety, collecting ideas and thoughts, and building effective health and safety outcomes for everybody, regardless of what it is that you're talking about.
And really good, effective consultation in whatever form it takes is so critical in getting good health and safety outcomes in workplaces, isn't it?
It certainly is. And in my experience, the best consultation is simple. It's agreed, so everyone understands what consultation is and what its purpose is. Everyone understands that they have a role and can have a role in consultation. And it's a really effective way, I think, of creating a good health and safety focused culture in any organisation. So consultation, whilst it sounds really formal, is essentially just talking about stuff, and that can take any form.
And speaking about stuff and talking about those issues as early as possible is a really good way of nipping those safety issues in the bud. You've had a lot of different roles at WorkSafe, and as you said, you and your team go into all workplaces across Victoria. Can you give us maybe an example of an incident or an issue that you've seen where good consultation may have prevented that from happening?
I certainly can. I'll go back to my deep, dark history when I was an investigator at WorkSafe. And in investigations, we typically respond to serious incidents where someone is injured or in the worst case scenarios loses their life. Back when I first started investigations, it's probably around 2013. I attended a workplace. It was a manufacturing organisation full of engineers. One thing I learned about engineers is they're very good at thinking and coming up with wonderful ideas, but not particularly good at talking to other people about it. In this particular instance, and I'll keep a long story very short, a modification was made to a pressing machine, which was used to manufacture a very specific car part. The owner of the organisation was an engineer, a brilliant man, really knew what his business was and how to make it hum. The client had come to him and said, "Hey, I actually need a different little tweak on this particular part." So he made a little bit. He himself manufactured a little bit that he added onto this press machine that his staff used. The next day, someone came in, and this little bit, whilst it was such a tiny little addition to the machine, actually made the machine perform just very slightly differently, and it timed things very slightly differently as well. A young man came in, started using the machine, and as a result of that different operation, lost half of his finger in that machine. He wasn't told that the machine had been modified. No one had been engaged with, hey, we need to change this particular part and this is what we're going to do to modify it. A really clear, basic example of where a conversation amongst the employees with the person who had made the change to the machine could have prevented what was a really serious injury.
It's a really good example, Adam. How do you think that employer could have done things better there?
Listen, to be honest, really simply, going back to the scenario, the customer had rung this organisation and said, hey, we need a small change. It was a really small change that required a really small modification to the machines that manufactured this very particular car part. If we flip this whole thing around and rather than just making the change and putting it in and hoping everything just went on as normal, by sitting down with the people who use those machines, who actually manufactured this particular part, talk to them about the change that the client had requested. Talk to them about what your proposed solution was. Try and capture any ideas that the people that are using these machines might have. Understand if this would make any difference to the process that they'd been doing over and over again for weeks and weeks on end. They're the types of conversations that can really start in what seems like a very basic thing to do, but it can result in a really good, engaged workforce that has been part of the decision and how this thing progresses. But also, it could absolutely have prevented this young man losing half of his finger on that particular day. So again, it comes back to keep it as simple as it needs to be, but talk to the people who are involved.
Absolutely. And as we spoke about before, you've got oversight of many different types of workplaces in Victoria and different sizes as well. Could you share some ideas on how to get consultation back on track if it's gone off the rails a little bit?
It can be as simple as a meeting. It can be as simple as a toolbox catch up with your staff or of a particular area in your organisation. It doesn't really have a specific look. It can be whatever is going to work best for your organisation, what is going to be the most effective way of communicating between the employer, the staff, the HSRs. It's a critical thing just to get that system, I guess, right, so people know what to look for. It's also really important when you are consulting in any organisation to make sure that it is understandable and able to be engaged with by all staff. Many workplaces in this day and age have people from a very diverse background. And really important you understand what people are in your workplace, what diversities there are in your workplace, and ensuring that any communication, particularly when it comes to consultation on health and safety, is able to be engaged with by everybody.
And not just different languages and different cultures in workplace. Many workplaces have real technical aspects to the work they do and obviously, and therefore health and safety issues as well. So it's really important that any information that is provided to employees or HSRs is given in a way that they understand it as well.
Absolutely. And there's so many different functions. There's quite large workplaces around the state that have very different functions within it. So one of the key parts of consultation is that it's relevant and that it makes sense. And that's not necessarily going to be to everybody, but you tailor that for whatever the issue is that you want to consult with in your workplace.
When it comes to reaching agreement, how often does that happen at the first go and how often does it happen not happen at all?
Yeah, it's a really good point you raise. And consultation is not necessarily about reaching agreement. Consultation is about talking about particular things. It's not a ways or means to get to an agreement per se. I mean, agreements can certainly stem from consultation and discussions, of course, but it's not about seeking agreement. It's about ensuring that whatever is happening in your workplace that may impact the health and safety in whatever way that looks like, of your employees is absolutely spoken about, is absolutely understood, and it's understood at the right time, the right place, and regarding the right matters.
So Adam, does your team at WorkSafe have any role in relation to consultation within workplaces?
For sure, Chris. And consultation is captured in the Occupational Health and Safety Act. That is how important it is. And listen, to be really frank with you, advice to all of the listeners out there is consultation doesn't have to be hard. In fact, getting consultation right is really good business practice, both from an employer perspective and an employee perspective. It joins organisations, it creates conversation about things that impact the health and safety of the people that work in that place. If for whatever reason consultation isn't able to be achieved, and I will say effective consultation will mean that you are dealing with issues as and when they arise in your workplace. It will mean that probably means that WorkSafe doesn't need to attend, but WorkSafe absolutely can attend. Inspectors can attend a workplace to assist with consultation processes. We don't facilitate consultation, but we can certainly assist in helping people get to where they need to be in the consultation space. Notwithstanding that, WorkSafe has several resources that are available through its webpage. I really encourage anyone who is thinking about consultation, is wondering what does that mean for me in my workplace, to use the resources that are available to WorkSafe. We have a wonderful advisory line. Please call through if you want to actually talk to somebody about consultation or maybe your situation of consultation. But essentially, Chris, yes, we can be involved. Prefer not to be because, as I said, consultation is as simple as it needs to be. But of course, WorkSafe is here to assist.
Good to know that support is there if needed. Adam, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Chris.
That was Adam Watson, WorkSafe's Commander of Field Operations, with some really great examples of resolving health and safety issues in your workplace. As a bit of a recap, remember, consultation can come in many different forms, and it's really important to provide information in a timely way so that employees and HSRs have enough time to consider the matters, discuss them, seek advice, and then provide feedback to their employer. This information needs to be in a form that employers and HSRs can easily understand, which means it shouldn't be withheld just because it's in a technical nature or difficult to understand. Employers should also have a way to consult with employees from culturally or linguistically diverse backgrounds. And remember, different communication methods can be used, but consultation itself doesn't necessarily mean agreement. For further information on today's topic, you can check out the guidance links in the text below. This has been another episode of the HSR podcast brought to you by WorkSafe, helping to achieve better health and safety outcomes in your workplace. Next time, we'll wrap up the series by hearing from WorkSafe's Executive Director of External Affairs, Sam Jenkin, and Mike Craig, one of WorkSafe's dedicated health and safety representative support officers, about WorkSafe's commitment to supporting HSRs in the important work they do. Until then, if you have any OH&S issues or concerns, or to lodge a case, please contact WorkSafe's advisory service on 1800 136 089. You can also head to the WorkSafe website to subscribe to our monthly newsletter sharing news, events and resources for HSRs. And if you are an HSR in Victoria, the support officer team is available whenever you need. Just email hsro@worksafe.vic.gov.au.
Please note, this information is based on laws applying in Victoria only. It is correct at the time of recording, but is not to be relied upon as legal advice. This episode does not outline all the legal obligations under Victoria's occupational health and safety laws.